Hi everyone, my name is Sam Sears. I am the sous chef for the Utah Mammoth, and I am also a registered dietitian. I am from just outside Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm going to be answering some questions today that Jen had for me. So let's get started on that. So as far as my area of expertise, like I said, I'm a dietitian, I'm a chef, so it's a little bit of a fusion of both. My entire career has been in sports nutrition. So sports nutrition, culinary nutrition, kind of whatever you want to call that. Essentially, how can food benefit performance in athletes? As far as how I got here, like I said, I grew up in Maryland, decided to go to culinary school up in Rhode Island at Johnson & Wales University. So the way that works is the first 2 years of your college education are essentially really, really heavily in culinary classes. So basic cooking techniques, foreign techniques, even bartending, meat cutting, all kinds of different things. Really, just a very broad everything in food service. And then your second 2 years is where you pick your major. So initially my major was food service management. I thought I wanted to have a restaurant, thought I wanted to open a restaurant, and worked in some. It was great. I had a lot of fun. And then my dad started to kind of push me towards nutrition. So for our school, what we had to do was apply to our nutrition program to be accepted. And so we had interviews. In my interviews, I found out that there was nutrition in athletics, and I was sold on that. I had played sports all my life. I played lacrosse in college, so always have been very competitive. But once I found that, I was sold. So as I was in college, I worked in some different restaurants in Newport, Rhode Island. So some fine dining places, some fast casual. Did a lot of weddings and events. So all kinds of different avenues of the culinary world I was working in. And then after once I graduated from college, we had to do an internship, and I ended up taking an internship with the University of Alabama and their football team, working in their kitchen, kind of doing culinary nutrition, sports nutrition, so working really closely with their dietitians, with the football team, on just all of the day-to-day stuff. When I got down there, they were finishing their new dining facility, so that was kind of a just right place, right time kind of thing, where great facility, huge. You can find videos of it online, so if you ever want to look into it, but it was incredible. So I was there for 3 years, worked in their kitchen, everything from working practices to games to postseason games, travel, all those fun things. So I was there for 3 years, and then I decided that I needed to try to make a step to kind of increase my nutrition knowledge and my nutrition resume. So I passed my registered dietitian exam in 2020 in I think June or July, and then ended up taking a job with Auburn as a sports dietitian intern. So wasn't doing as much cooking there, but really was trying to build my resume, working with sports teams. So I worked with football, I worked with really heavily gymnastics, softball, track and field, equestrian, you name it. And then after my first year there, I ended up becoming the executive performance chef for Auburn Athletics, while also keeping a couple teams to be their dietitian. What does a normal day look like? I feel like that's something that every dietitian gets asked, and it's usually not the same. It can be all over the place. It just depends on what the schedule looks like. So it can be anything from restocking to, at the Mammoth, we're really putting out breakfast and lunch. So kind of a quick turnaround sometimes for practice days. For game days, it can be we're doing breakfast, lunch, dinner. So those days are more, 5 or 6 a.m. to midnight. So the game days are longer days, but it just depends what's going on. What are the highlights or favorite things about my job? Over my career, I think it's just been you meet a lot of new and cool people that you wouldn't ever realize or think of. So whether it's the professional athletes or people that are in Hall of Fame or reporters or whatever, it's something it's really cool, and I think you start to take it for granted when you're around it all the time. But it's something that when you look back at it, obviously something that not a lot of people get to do. So that's certainly pretty cool. You meet some great people, just really nice people, genuine people. As far as what qualities and skills are required for the position, if you're looking at the dietitian side of my job, well, I guess actually both of them, you have to be organized. So whether it's planning out menus ahead of time, making sure that you have all the right ingredients and all of your different components of a dish are on a prep list and ready to go. Or from the dietitian side of, if you're traveling, you've got to think about what you need to bring, what you might need to get shipped, what you might need to get when you're there. You also have to have really good people skills. So, that communication, whether it's the communication with your staff or the communication with the players. Something I've realized is every sport is really, really different. Football is nothing like gymnastics, and gymnastics isn't like hockey. So, you have to be able to kind of adjust the way that you work with people, and kind of meet them where they're at. Because the biggest thing I think in this industry, right, is we're trying to help them. And in order for us to help them, they have to feel comfortable to come to us, ask for help, ask for advice. So we want to make sure that we're someone that they feel comfortable coming to. Some of the things that can be challenging about this job are certainly, depending on where you are, whether you're in the college level, the pros, is trying to advocate for yourself. It's not always easy, but that's where you have to make sure that you have that evidence. You have to kind of keep track of what you are doing because no one else is going to do that for you. So that when it is time to try to advocate, whether it's for another position or for an assistant or an intern or whatever it may be, you have some things that kind of back up what you're saying. I think that's kind of from the administration side. From the athlete side, is not every athlete is going to trust you or gravitate towards you or even listen to you. That's just something that you unfortunately have to get used to, where you can't expect everyone to like you or trust you with absolutely everything. Some people are going to have their own coaches, or they're going to go to TikTok for advice. And you can certainly do your best and always try to help them whenever you can, but ultimately it's up to them if they're going to come to you for that information. So that can certainly get frustrating, but you can only focus and control on what you can control. So I think that's the biggest thing. The least favorite thing about my job, um, it might have to be the hours. A lot of times in sports nutrition and in the kitchen, you're looking at really, really long hours. Like I said, some of our game days, they might go from, or at least we might be there from 6 a.m. to midnight. That doesn't include getting there, getting home, and then turning around the next day and being in at 5 or 6 a.m. again. So it can get a little bit hectic. In season's always going to be a little bit more difficult, but I think that's just part of it, right? Like we have a really interesting and unique industry. So I think there's, no matter what industry you're in or what your job is, there's always going to be some pros and cons. But I think one of the things in sports is where like winning makes everything worth it. If you put in a lot of hours and then you go out and win a national championship or a Stanley Cup or whatever it may be, it makes everything in the past kind of, you can look back on and say, hey, it was worth it. Not to say it's not worth it if that doesn't ever happen, but it certainly helps. But you work in some long hours, you're working holidays, you're missing birthdays and, Christmas or whatever it may be. So you're definitely making some sacrifices. That's probably my least favorite thing, but a lot of the times I think it ends up getting rewarded. Then lastly, if you're looking to get into this nutrition field and sports nutrition or even culinary, I think no matter what it is anymore, you have to work hard. You have to be dedicated. You can't have excuses. You can't be late. I think that's something that's, in my opinion at least, from what I have seen, is that it's pretty easy now to separate yourself from other people. And I think a lot of people have lost some of the drive to really, power through. Where I think if you're really, really dedicated, if you're showing up on time, if you're doing all your work, if you're going above and beyond, if you're doing things that aren't being asked of you, all of those things show. And I think that your mentors, your bosses, whoever it is, they'll notice that. So always kind of do the extra work, see if you can do some research on your own on whether it's the field, whether it's the job itself. Do whatever you can to get the upper hand. Work really hard when you're young, get yourself in a good position, and I think it'll pay off drastically. I think that's all I got, but if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to Jen and, get in touch with me. Be happy to answer anything or any other questions that I might have missed about, the culinary world, the dietetics world. But yeah, good luck.